Hi everyone, I'm Alicia Piazza. I am founder of the Spark Social. Welcome to this portion of Side Thrive's 60-day challenge to talk about your social media marketing strategy. Now, as owner of the Spark Social, I just want to give you a little bit of background about myself, not talk too much, but I've been working with local businesses on their digital marketing for about a decade now. And social media marketing has by far always been my favorite tactic for social. So I've been an agency owner for 5 years, and the Spark Social is our social first marketing agency to help local businesses with their strategy. Now, by no means can I teach you social media and everything that we do in a 25 to 30-minute span, but I'm going to try to cover 4 things that are really important that we do for our clients and can help you move the needle with your social media. Those 4 things are how to select the right social media channels for your business. I'll tell you this right now, it's better to have 1 or 2 than be using them all and using them poorly. 4 tactics for your social media marketing. They're really simple. I didn't make them up, but they can make all the difference with how you approach your marketing on social. Third, branding your business on social and how to create a social media voice. Because it's social, it's not a brochure, it's not a website or a pamphlet. We need to have a conversation with our clients, our prospects, and our connections. And then creating impactful content. Because if you're not out there doing something different and standing out, really what's the point of even using social? So let's get started. Again, we're going to jump right in. We're going to go through this pretty quick. In fact, I'm going to set a timer because if I don't, we may be here all night. I love to talk about social, but I just want to make sure this is as efficient as possible. So how to choose the platforms that you need to be on for your social media. The biggest thing is identifying your audience, and that means your prospects, your current customers, your prospects to be. Where are they? Where do they hang out? Let's start with who they are actually. So, who is your typical customer? If it's a new business, then what does that typical customer look like, right? So I'll get more into how we can define that. It's not just, it's a female and they're 37 years old. We really can get into details that are going to help you. So think about that. And in fact, all your marketing really starts with defining who your customer base is. We like to use personas. They're not the end all be all, but they're super helpful in nailing down some key components. Define your goals. So what is it that you want your customers to do? Do you want them to have brand awareness? Do you want them to be reading content? Do you want them to be connecting with you directly? Do you want to be reaching tons of people at once? It really depends. And some of the examples we've listed out here are lead gen, PR, e-com, brand awareness. And then I think when you take those 2 things, who is your customer and what do you want your social to do, you can really find the platforms that will work for you. Now, when I talk about personas, this is an example of what we do for our clients. So we put together slides that really nail down on who these people are. And you can have, as many personas as you want, but try to focus on the ones that are going to spend the most money with you and do the most business with you. So age, location, what are their pain points? What does their daily life look like? And most importantly, how does your business solve those pain points for them? So you can speak to that content in your social media marketing. Now, this is also going to help you identify the social media channel you need to use because there's a lot of them. And I'm going to go through the top 4 here. If you have any questions about these 2, we can talk about that at a later date. But we're going to talk about these top 4 in depth about the differences between them. Not going to spend too much time, but it's important to know how they all work. Now, I will say that if you choose not to use all these social media channels for your business, and also Pinterest is not on here, I should mention that's a big one for e-com. But in terms of the majority of businesses, you're going to be looking at these 4 here. Now, even if you choose not to use Twitter right now, it still might be important to go grab that handle. Even if you're not going to use it, just keep it in the background, kind of make it like not linked to your website. We don't want people going there and thinking you're not in business because you tweeted once in 2012. But basically grab the handles you want just in case. So Facebook, you can see here, we've listed out the demographics, Instagram, LinkedIn. We've listed the main purpose of each social media channel, and I'm not going to read through this. You can download the slides to really get the details here. And basically thinking, who is your audience? Are they younger? Are they older? Is this going to be professional? Do I want to drive sales through social? Do I want to make that sales, do I want the direct conversion to happen through social, or is social going to be the entry tool into the sales cycle? Do I have a sales team? Do I need brand awareness and community management? Do I need customer service? All important things to ask, and we will get into this in more detail. Also important is to understand like the basic functionalities between the different social media channels. Now, Facebook and Instagram, I will mention they are owned by the same company. They also own WhatsApp and a few other smaller apps out there. So stories are available on both, and we'll share some examples of what stories are and how they work. But basically, there's those quick clips of social media content that flash across your screen are gone in 24 hours. LinkedIn and Twitter do not have those options. Influencer marketing. If you plan on using influencer marketing, these two are a must. Advertising. Every channel has advertising right now, including TikTok. But I would say, to move the needle, these three, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, are really the ones we're seeing for businesses to get traction with the ad spend. Today, for the sake of this conversation and keeping it to a timely manner, we're just talking about organic, so no paid. But if you do plan to utilize paid, please please thoroughly look at using these channels because they're going to have the highest capabilities for paid. E-com, definitely Facebook and Instagram, possibly Pinterest, which is not on here. Leads, Facebook is great for leads in the B2C world and sometimes B2B. LinkedIn, definitely great for leads on the B2B side, which we'll talk about. Now, these slides have a ton of information on them, so I'm not going to read through it. Obviously, everyone knows what Facebook is, but in my opinion, Facebook works great for 99% of businesses. It's a great profile for branding your business. It's a great place for customer service. It's a great place to run ads, retargeting ads, to push content to the right audience. Now, I will say this. Facebook does have limited capabilities in terms of organic reach. So if we move down to the next slide, you can see that these industries work great. It's basically everything: service, B2B, e-com. Service could be restaurants, could be like HVAC, could be solar, could be consultants. It really doesn't matter. Consultants could fall under B2B, gyms, you name it. Again, 99% of businesses have a place on Facebook because it just works for the functionality of the platform. Now, on the organic side, when we talk about best practices and some of the limitations with Facebook, you're not going to reach a lot of people with your everyday organic posts until you get a really big following, and you can show Facebook that you can keep that engagement up, because there's that thing, you may have heard of it, called the algorithm. And so basically, until your page starts seeing tons of engagement, and on posts that is, Facebook really downplays business pages. Now you're saying, you just recommended Facebook is great for every business. And it's not so much for the organic posting, but again, the paid capabilities are amazing. It's a great brand holder. It's a great place to do quick updates, press releases for any type of business. And it also serves as a great tool for social listening and customer service. Now, moving on, the best practices, we can go over them pretty quickly, but keep your posts short. 3 to 5 a week is all you need. I get that question all the time. How many times a week should I post? Honestly, I don't care how many times you post a week. We care if it's quality. Quality over quantity, always on Facebook. You could have a post from Monday that's doing phenomenal, getting shared, comments, likes, whatever it is, doing well from Monday all the way through Friday, versus pumping out 2 posts a day every day of the week, not getting anywhere. That doesn't make any sense. So it's always quality over quantity. Engage with those customers. We will get into that. Facebook, you cannot go out and talk to your customers. You have to wait for them to come into your page. So do not miss the opportunity of engaging with them. Keep the post short. Don't use the hashtags and URLs unless it's like a theme hashtag to be cute. It's not really going to get you anywhere on Facebook. Now moving on to Instagram. That's one of my personal favorites as well. So it's a visual platform. Obviously, it's fed off of pictures. Don't go to Instagram and post stock pictures. Just don't do it. just don't bother. Now you're saying, I don't have a visual business. What can I use Instagram for? So say you're like HVAC or you're a coach, find stories, find pictures from your own life, find pictures of your team, find pictures of your clients, find pictures of things you're doing throughout your day that relate to your story. There's creative ways to be visual without necessarily sharing your product or your service directly. So just think about that. If you're having trouble, maybe worth talking to a creative strategist or a professional. Here's some stats about Instagram, 200 plus million users. People love watching video on Instagram, and 60% of people say they discover products on Instagram. So if you have a product, chances are you should probably be on Instagram. Best practices, industries that work well. Again, most businesses can work well if they have a visual component. If you don't have a highly visual industry, there's still a way to get by, but it's going to require being a little creative. Now, also best practices for Instagram. It's an updating app. It's always changing. You want to stay on top of those changes. The images need to be pretty decent. Not saying you need to go out and spend, a fortune on a professional photographer right away or have somebody like on call to do photos all the time, but you're going to want to make sure that you have a good quality images, which you can do with your iPhone. Just look up some tips on best quality for iPhone images. My personal favorite tip, always wipe your screen on your iPhone before you take a picture. It's got all the fingerprints. Stay on top of the changes, like I was saying. Know what your audience wants and post at optimal times. So if you go into your Insights tab as a business, you can see when your audience is going to be on Instagram and post then. Tell visual stories. And we'll get more into the stories feature, but it's highly visual. You have to find a way to connect with your audience with a visual brand image that's going to connect with them. Hashtags are huge on Instagram. Don't use more than 15. That's kind of overkill. Switch up the hashtags on every post. Don't get lazy. Instagram does not like that. And also make sure you're using hashtags that go from high usage and volume to low usage and volume to kind of pick up on all sorts of trends happening on Insta. Now here's an example of stories. Stories, they are on Facebook, but Instagram is really the place where they're a huge focus. They sit right here at the top of your feed when you log in. So it's very easy to just even skip the feed and go right through stories. Now, the disadvantage of stories for a business is they are incredibly time consuming to create. It's real time. People are leaning towards more authentic images. This one on the right is Professional by Overstock. Of course, they have a whole marketing team. I mean, it's pretty cool, but to me, it just screams advertising. I really like the stories of behind the scenes, things that people can connect with, things that give your business a face and a personality. So again, they disappear in 24 hours, but you can add them to your highlights tab. And stories are a huge opportunity right now for businesses. And in fact, Instagram overall is, because it's a great place where business pages aren't getting downplayed in the algorithms. So if your stories are getting engagement, just like, a personal Instagram account, that's going to get as much traction. And it's also the ability for you to connect with your users because you can go and comment on their post. You can message users. I wouldn't do that in a sales way, but you can message people. You can follow your, ideal type of clients. Say you're in fashion and you see influencers in the fashion industry or makeup industry, you can go out and follow them. You can't do that on Facebook. So Instagram is a huge opportunity there. Now, as I was saying before, Instagram is great for product. So is Facebook. In fact, Facebook just launched the availability as of May 20th or May 19th to sell directly through Facebook by tagging products and using Facebook Live. It's so new. I really don't even have the details on it. Now, Instagram has had this tagging feature for organic posting for a while. So basically, if you were in the feed here and you saw a product you liked, you could go and click on that product and it would bring you right through to the website so you could purchase that. So that's a pretty seamless transaction. You can even display the price. And the setup behind that, if you have products to sell, is so simple that it's just, if you don't do it, just don't miss that opportunity. So those are the few of the reasons we like Instagram. You really do have an advantage as a business for having a presence, connecting with people, following people, using those hashtags, tagging products. It's visual. So there is a challenge and disadvantage to that if you don't have a visual game. LinkedIn. So LinkedIn started as an HR tool, right? But it's evolved drastically. And I would say that their advertising it's up and coming. They're really trying to compete. And LinkedIn has its place for professional networking. It's almost like if you went to a networking event and now you're, connecting with people afterwards, or more so bringing that networking event online. So you can find people within your industry who are influencers, authorities, and you can reach out to them. Do not just send people sales messages. Do not do that. I get sales messages all day long on my Instagram on my LinkedIn. And do you know what I do with them? Absolutely nothing. You have to really start a conversation with people. Of course, we're all there to sell, but we wouldn't walk into a networking event and say, "Hi, I'm Alicia. Would you like to sign up for a social media retainer with my agency?" It's not how it works. Don't do it on LinkedIn. So what industries do work well on LinkedIn? Well, we have, anything from SaaS to tech companies, anything that's B2B really, business to business. So staffing, recruiting, consulting, even some retail brands do really well on LinkedIn. Now, I will tell you this, just like Facebook, having a business LinkedIn really isn't going to get you super far. A business LinkedIn profile, the organic reach, just like Facebook, is kind of low. So if you have a sales team or you personally are going to be reaching out to people for your social media strategy, LinkedIn is a great place to make those connections, post, build authority, share content that's going to be relevant to your ideal audience. Best practices, posting two to 5 times a week, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, because it's a tool people use at work. Use hashtags and URLs. Try to keep them out of the content. If you're providing a link, make sure it's clean. Now, moving on to Twitter, I will say for a local business or a small business, Twitter is really hard to move the needle for you. Their advertising platform is also not really, it doesn't lend itself to a local business presence. So Twitter would probably be my least favorite. It's also a lot of work. So if I had to choose, between two social media platforms, just for the amount of work that has to go into Twitter, I would say it wouldn't be the best choice if you have limited time. Now, bigger brands do really well on Twitter. A lot of bigger brands use it for customer service. Local brands will see customer service messages come into their Facebook page, so you don't really have to worry about Twitter getting a tweet that somebody had a bad experience. It's also really fast moving, so you should be posting 1 to 3 times a day. Definitely hashtags on Twitter. And the content has to be really engaging. We scroll really fast on all the social media channels, but Twitter, definitely your tweets take up less real estate than like a Facebook post or an Instagram post. So you really have to be catching people's attention, getting shares or retweets rather, likes, and getting comments to keep that visibility up. And it's hard to do. So that, and it's short posts too. So that is the challenge with Twitter. I hate to kind of downplay the option of Twitter because it can work and it does work for many brands. So don't let my bias discount your use of Twitter, but just be aware that it's a high maintenance program. So 4 tactics on social. Now that we've gone through the basics, we really want to dial down to how we can use social. Now, for the record, I did not come up with these 4 tactics, and it was an article by The Click, which I follow, and I put the link there in the bottom. But social listening is a big one for my agency. And we also call this community management, and it's basically using social media, any of the platforms, as a customer service tool. Now, I do think certain platforms will lend themselves to customer service more so, such as Facebook, sometimes DMs or direct messages on Insta, but also Twitter for some bigger brands. Social influencing. And I'll talk about social listening a little more in detail. I'll give you examples of all of these. Social influencing is establishing authority. LinkedIn is a great place for that. You can also do it on Facebook, but I mean, it's like if you were to like publish a new blog or you're creating your own content, maybe you're creating video, it's a really great place to share content on LinkedIn. That's going to give you a point of view or a hard stance on something. So we'll get into details. Social networking. Now this one, according to the Click, and I have to agree, is probably the most underutilized on social. And I will give you examples of how we're dropping the ball on networking on social. And social selling is pretty cut and dry. That's when you're going to social and saying, buy from me. So you may have a special, or you may have a download, or, it may be asking people to purchase your product direct. So a lot of businesses only do number 4. Some businesses are doing number 2. Some businesses are doing number 1. And I'll give you examples of how we can drop the ball on that one. And number 3 is probably the most underutilized. So example 1, social listening. Now, when you post on social and you bounce, basically you post and you leave the app, you are missing out and engaging with people, especially on Instagram. You want to stay in the app. You want to comment on other people's posts. You want to show Instagram that you're using Instagram as it was meant to be, which is a social media tool. So if you're going in and you're just posting, you're essentially using social media like it's traditional advertising, which it's not. So what you need to be doing is once you post on Facebook, you need to be answering these comments. So you see, this is just a restaurant posting that they are now introducing this new seafood dish. People are going crazy. They're getting a ton of comments, but we have to be replying. And so this is social listening in a community management sense, where you're replying to people, you're answering their questions, you're listening to what they are saying about your brand when they tag you or send a message to your page or share a picture from, maybe they visited your establishment or using your product. That is social listening. Now you can do that by just paying attention to the notifications on your page, but there's also tools out there such as Sprout Social that offers true social media listening tools. Now, do you need to go invest in social media listening tools right off the bat? Most likely no, but the option is there for when your brand does grow. You can make sure that you have a wide view of everything that's being said about your brand on social. And most importantly, we need to respond. Even if it's just a thank you, a like, or a quick little great picture, thanks for sharing, that is the point of social. And so many businesses do drop the ball on this one, we would say. Now, the next tactic is social influencing. And so this is building authority through sharing your own content or your own point of view. And so I have pulled examples of none other than Gary Vaynerchuk. So Gary, as you know, is a very authoritative brand. He's a person, but he's also a brand. And when Gary delivers his messages, he uses a tone of authority from his experience and what he does. But he also, and I'll tell you this little trick, if you are looking to establish a tone of authority within your brand, if you truly are looking to be a thought leader, absolutisms and speaking from what you truly believe as a business owner are going to help you move the needle. It could even be disagreeing with other people's point of view on your LinkedIn profiles and Twitter, because there's no greater way to start conversation than by debating. Now, you don't need to be hateful or anything like that, but starting a good debate is always a great way to spark the conversation on social. And if you can do it with authority and you have some, reasoning to back up what you're saying, that's a great tactic on social for moving the needle. And that's what we would call inside my agency a disruptor. So Gary Vee is definitely a disruptor within his industry, the way he approaches his marketing. He's a disruptor, and he's also authoritative. The next tactic is social networking. So this is simply networking on LinkedIn. We talked about this, using LinkedIn as a tool to connect with valuable resources in your business. Now, if you have a sales team, LinkedIn is a must for you. You have no choice but to be on LinkedIn. And they should be utilizing it to make connections. But there's other ways to use social networking And that's by, connecting with people in your communities, sharing content that you really just find valuable. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily recommend going and finding your competitor to share their content, but you can share people in your industry. For example, as a social media agency, I am all for sharing articles from the Click or Social Media Examiner on my social media profiles, as long as I agree with them. And if I don't, I'm going to provide my point of view on that. But if I'm really looking to network, I want to have those favorable relationships. So following people on Instagram, commenting on their stuff, being supportive, that's all part of social networking on social media. So many businesses are not doing this. And so I shared an example here of Frog and Toad, which is a local retail store. And on Instagram, I have two great examples of how they're really using Instagram to network. And they just simply call out their partners. So they have some White Electric coffee here, and they have a shirt from Neem Donuts. And I just think it's a great example of how to truly network as a business and utilize local partnerships. Very creative. What else? Okay, social selling. Pretty cut and dry. You have a special offer. You have an overall offer. You have an overall campaign and business objective, and that's to make money. But we can't always be talking about what we have to offer as a business. So social selling is probably should only be like 20% of what you post, because if it's just buy from me, do business from me, guess how many people are going to enjoy following your brand? So you can ask for the sale if you're doing the other things. And I mean, depending on the channels you're using, depending on the industry in, you're going to find that, maybe you do more social networking. Maybe you do more social influencing. Maybe it's more community management and social listening, but you can do the selling as long as you're doing those other three things to some extent. And so the example here is we have a local restaurant who's talking about getting your lassie, come in, buy one, get one free. Okay, over here on the right though, we need to be replying to these people who are asking questions. So in other words, in order to do the social selling, don't forget to do the social listening and actually reply and network with these people, so social networking as well, who are interacting with your post. Or else social media is just not social at all. Now, creating your social media brand voice. And it could be brand and voice or brand voice. We call it brand voice, mostly within my agency. And most of our clients have no idea how to do that. And therefore, they default to the social selling posts all the time. This is what I have to offer. This is who I am. This is what I do. This is what I want you to buy from me. And that's not really going to get you too far on social if you're just posting that type of message and content. So what we do, these are a couple tricks you can do to develop your social media voice and tone. And that's, think of your brand as a celebrity. Any celebrity, really, whoever you align with and who your brand and company can align with, pick one and nail down reasons as to why that celebrity is the persona of your brand is. So think of it as your brand is a person, not just a company. And that's going to make you human on social. It's going to allow you to understand the tone you should take. It's going to allow you the types of things that your brand would post if they were a celebrity, right? Because if you're Will Smith, if you're, I can't think of many celebrities right now, obviously, because I need to. If you're Oprah, obviously, if you're, Tina Fey, you're all going to have different voices. And so think of your brand in a celebrity sense. Tom Brady, Gary Vaynerchuk, I guess, could be one too. But think of who your brand would most closely align with and pull out what you like about that celebrity. And then when you go to post, you're going to want to kind of envision your brand as that celebrity. Now, other questions you can ask yourself to develop your voice. How much of a disruptor do I want to be on social? Do I want to be alienating people? Do I want to be noisy? Do I want to just kind of fall in the middle somewhere? But these are important questions to ask. How much humor, right? So some brands do really great with humor, like Wendy's on Twitter. And how much authority do I want to speak with? Because, authority is great, but we don't always need to have that authoritative and visionary voice. How formal is your brand? How laid back? These are all things to consider. And so what we do is we put our clients through an extensive social media voice analysis to draw these things out so that we can, one, help them define this, and two, if they have a marketing team who manages their social or they need us to manage their social, we now have a document and a full-on strategy that speaks to the voice they're using. Now, examples of brands with voices. So we have a local restaurant over here on the left, and I followed them when they started, and they were pretty bland. It was like, hey, we have hamburgers. Hey, we have fish and chips. And that didn't really get them too far on Instagram. So here you can see they're posting, it's fun, you know, social distancing with rules, stay away from my fries. So that's cute. And it's getting more interactions, and you can see their posts are more kind of like the tone, the voice that the restaurant would have. And so right now, because of what's going on with COVID, it's more important than ever to have a brand and a voice on social, because people are not coming into your establishment. They're not talking to the bartender. They're not talking to the wait staff and the owner. So displaying that tone and voice on social is absolutely key. Drizzly, not a local business, a bigger brand, but a great example of how they display humor to draw people in, and just kind of, they're light and fun, and it just keeps people looking forward to what they're posting. I got an email. I look forward to their emails. It's actually an email I will never unsubscribe from because I think they're fun. So basically, you know, think about how you can bring those things into your tone and what you're posting. Don't just default to posting and not thinking about this tone. My last example here is Red Sons, our friends over in Red Sons, another local Providence-based business. And they're like the friendly neighbor. That is their voice. They nail it every time. In this Instagram post, they're talking about how they help people through transitions I'm just going to read it because it's a great post. Our entire lives are made up of transitions. We just want to help you through that. Simple, to the point, the friendly neighbor. We're here for you. Now, they offer a service helping people move and other household chores, but they don't really need to come out and say that. The visual, the message is there in the tone. And this is what you need to establish with a brand voice. Now, content that matters. So you have your brand voice. You can come up with these short little blurbs and things that are going to draw people in, whether they're humor or heartstrings or, you know, pulling on heartstrings, or their authority voices. But basically, you have your voice. So now how are you going to develop content that matters? There's no one answer for that, but all you need to think about is go back to the start of this presentation. What channels are you using? Who are you speaking to? And figure out what matters to them. Post in your voice, and you have a winning strategy for social media on the organic side. Now I'm sharing here Hometown Poke, which is another local business. They nail their social media presence because they are truly and authentically themselves. They post what matters to their audience, and just all around, you can always tell by their social media posts the voice that they have. So if I went to the restaurant and spoke to them, I would expect no different of an experience than what I see and read from them on social. And it truly is a seamless experience. So they've nailed it. And just to give you a detailed look here at what I consider nailing it, is over here we have their post. And so they obviously have great images on Instagram to post, and the visuals nail it, but they also share their team. And right now we are going through some tough times. So restaurants are posting all about their special offers, their patios opening, how to get reservations with them, their takeout. But even during this difficult time where it's really like survival mode, Hometown Poke has truly stayed true to who they are. Truly stayed authentic, and just really has remembered who they are at the core. And they have remembered to share things about their team. And to me, this is a huge win because we're not seeing their team in the restaurant. We're not seeing these friendly faces. And they have come out on social during this difficult time where restaurants are shut, and remembered to feature their team and not just talk about buying from us. And that is why on the right here, when you look at them posting a story in their true authentic voice, which storytelling is a great way to do that, they get tons of reactions. And so this is a story about how their street was shut down because of some of the local, there's basically some local political stuff going on, and the street was going to be shut down to traffic. Essentially, that was going to kill their business, because even if it was temporarily shut down, for 3-4 weeks, Grubhub drivers, pickups, curbside, their business couldn't operate right now. And so they put a message out to the community, and they talked about how disruptive this would be, and their audience responded because they put the message out with the voice, and they put it out as themselves. And they used Instagram and Facebook, which are their two main channels where they know that their personas and audiences live. And they got a huge reaction to the point where the street was actually opened back up by the mayor. And so you see here, they tell their story, and they tell it in their words. They don't post like it's a website PR press release, because it's not, it's social media. Now you may be asking, what am I going to do with all of this? Because it's really a lot to think about. So just start with these 4 simple things. You can have this slide deck to download. And by the way, if you do want to take the social media voice analysis, I can send you, just email Alicia at the Spark and use voice in the subject line. And I can send you the link to take the whole quiz, and we'll give you your social media voice results. From there, you can build it into your strategy. But based off of this presentation and what are the next steps for you to nail your organic social media marketing in the 60-day marketing challenge, create those customer personas, think about your audience and what matters to them, think about their pain points. Take time to develop that voice. Write down keywords, how humorous you want to be, how serious you want to be, who your brand is as a celebrity, and put it in a document. Develop a mantra before you go post, so you always have that thought, that sentence to bring you back in before you just go posting random stuff that's not going to resonate. And 3, make sure you're using social to its fullest extent. So that's using the 4 tactics. Social listening, social selling is only a portion, social networking, and social influencing. So using those in some way to another. Some are going to be more important for other industries. It really depends, but don't just use social selling. And then you're free to create your content. So create those blogs, create those stories, create longer posts, shorter posts, whatever it is. But you can create content. If you think about these things first, you'll have a winning social media strategy. You'll resonate with your audience. And you may be asking now, how is this going to translate into dollars? If people like your brand on social, they will buy from you. Price almost becomes irrelevant. So I hope you found this helpful. Of course, you can ask me any questions you may have. And that's just, you can find me on social, but you're most likely to get an answer from me if you email me at alicia@thespark.social. Thanks so much for joining, and I hope to see you on the next session I have, which is on paid social.